can be heard in the video doing the rounds. The footage also shows visible damage to both the vehicles, with one side of the hatchback completely crushed. In the same video, 3 women can also be seen sitting on the back seat of the SUV. The incident triggered tensions at the spot, with some locals accusing the Thar and its occupants of attempting to shield the actual driver. Police said that the claims are now being verified. Authorities have seized the rented SUV and registered a case of rash and negligent driving causing death. Investigators are now examining CCTV footage from the junction, along with forensic evidence, eyewitness accounts and video clips to determine who was driving at the time of collision. All right, joining me on the show is Savio Rodriguez. Savio, extremely unfortunate incident there coming to light from Goa at this point in time, in which one person has died, a 65-year-old man has died. What are you picking up on the ground? I'm sure locals are angry. They're also accusing the Thar drivers of, switching the seats right after the accident.
It's very unfortunate that considerable amount of people who come into Goa as tourists and hire a tourist vehicle assume that Goa is a place where they could speed their cars, be completely completely carefree about the rules, do whatever they want to, don't pay attention to people on the streets or people driving their cars. This is becoming a regular habit in Goa. In fact, over the last couple of months, you would see a series of accidents that have happened in Goa because people just don't care about the rules. They don't care about other people driving. They don't care about people on the road. It is an atmosphere that has been created that anything and everything is allowed to happen in Goa. Even though the laws are strict and the police are also strict, and the people, come to help people who are in accidents and also go after people who are responsible for the accidents. The fact of the matter is that there is no care and concern about their own lives when they come to Goa, and that's the shocking part. Goa is a tourist destination, and all tourists are welcome into Goa, and we welcome them open-heartedly. But this kind of rash driving, rash behavior is something that is going on in Goa for a very long time, with certain sections of the tourist population coming in. Some of these tourists also go beyond normal behavior, where you see them standing on top of their cars or driving in an intoxicated manner. This is not the kind of tourism Goa requires, and these kinds of incidents are not only happening with the tourists, they are also happening with certain amount of locals who are victims to such blatant rash driving that happens. And what you saw there with the man talking on the phone, calling whoever he was, telling him that this is what has happened. This is the kind of influence that later then gets used, where the case is then settled or set aside, or there is some manipulation that happens in the case. Here, an innocent man has lost his life. He's lost his life because somebody on that wheel of the car was not responsible enough to do the job that he was supposed to do, which is drive the car in an unrash manner, drive it sensibly, drive it responsibly. And unfortunately, that didn't happen, and that's why there is a loss of life. And the Goa police is investigating the case, and they will get to the bottom of it. But my advice to a lot of tourists coming into Goa, we love the tourists, we want you to come, but there's a certain amount of decorum, there's a certain amount of mannerisms that you need to bring with you when you come to Goa, and especially rash driving is something that's not acceptable, because most of the roads in Goa, especially the ones in the villages, are small roads, which is beautiful, which allows for you to cruise at a decent, manner, but not to be rash in your driving. A lot of them just think it's some paradise where you're free and do whatever you want to. Goa is a paradise, but Goa is not a paradise where people can do what they want to and kill people accidentally. No, I'm sorry.
Right,
that's
absolutely. I mean, there is a decorum that needs to be followed, no matter where you are, Goa, Delhi or Bengaluru. But, to your point of it's increasingly happening in Goa, Savio, I am reporting on incidents of rash driving literally every second day here in the national capital. Just a couple of days ago, we heard of what happened in Kanpur, a Lamborghini rammed into people who were standing on the road. And then we looked at a case coming from Dwarka where a person killed another 24-year-old young boy. And similar such cases are now appearing in Goa, in Bengaluru. So this appears to be a trend, if I may say so, where young people, often in position of power with enough money and enough contacts, and in this case, you can hear the driver saying and calling his dad saying that, you know, I've been met with an accident, or I rammed my car into a certain vehicle. Essentially, this is a show of power. People who have enough and more money, who have enough and more contacts, they drive as they feel like, and they think they can get away with it. Now, I don't know if it's a societal problem or a problem of the law, because law are very strict. Law is very strict in case of drunken driving, but for some reason, it's still not a deterrent. It's not a deterrent, and it doesn't stop young, people, especially people who come from power and money, to stop them from committing such crimes.
Well, I do agree with you with that. You see, the problem is not law. The problem is the implementation of the law. And even in a case in Goa, like I'm saying, there's been a series of incidents that have happened over a period of time. Some of them involve tourists that do a lot of rash driving. The thing is this, we need to understand one thing, that life is precious, and life not only of yours, but even the other person on the road in another vehicle is also as important. So your power is of no consequence to anybody at that point of time when either of you all are going to lose life. Like in this case, and a 65-year-old man has lost his life. There are many innocent people who lose their life because of rash driving. I think we need to ensure that people who drive rashly and cause accidents where people lose their lives, there should be harsher punishments and not easy let go, because drunk driving, rash driving, these are serious offenses. They cannot be taken lightly, and people in power tend to use that power to get away with it because they believe that they can buy out whoever they want to. But they cannot buy out the pain and suffering of a person who's lost a family member in an accident. And that is something that you can never buy out. You can never pay for that. And I think we need to may have stricter laws, stricter implementation of the law, that nobody, irrespective whether he's in a position of power or not, there is a responsibility that you have when you are given a driving license. That driving license gives you a responsibility to drive sensibly, drive within the rules of the country, and not to drink and drive and not to rash drive. But if you can't follow that, then obviously there is no fear of the implementation of the law while the law exists.
Absolutely.
Therefore, we should become stronger in implementing the law.
So implementing the law, and perhaps I think the right sort of education from a very early age, where it doesn't matter how rich or how influential a family you come from, the law is equal for all and should be implemented as such. I think that fear needs to be ingrained somewhere. I believe that's the only way forward. If in case it's not responsibility, then perhaps the fear of the law, one of them should work out in time to prevent such accidents from happening repeatedly. Savio, thank you very much for joining us on that very extremely unfortunate story. In fact, let's also quickly take a look at some of those visuals which are doing the rounds on social media.
पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था पापा मतलब चौराहा था मैं जो सामने पे इंटरसेक्टिव आ रहा था